foresight that our community leaders had with continuing the school in '89. Back in 1955, the school board also took a big leap, a leap of faith that this community would succeed and continue to succeed by building an elementary school. It was a big deal in the community. We changed from this building to the new building in 1955. I was in first grade. We had no idea what was going on. Mrs. Quinn just told us to empty all the things from our desk into our brown paper bag and gather outside on the front sidewalk. And we stayed out there for what seemed like hours, wondering what was going on. You know, we're in sixth grade here. Then she led us over into the front door of the new school, into the first room on the right, and voila, there were our desks. The big kids had carried our desks around the inside of the school and put them in our new classroom. Jimmy V. carried my desk, and he's been my hero for 40 years. Really. The community leaders had a great foresight to develop the magnet school when the high school closed. Tracy Baxter was one of the teachers who was instrumental in making our little elementary school into a nationally recognized math, science, and technology magnet school. A school recognized for being on the cutting edge of educational innovation, an award-winning school. Please give a warm welcome to Tracy Baxter and her sons, Brady and Cody.
I don't know if she knows this, but when I was a new teacher here in 1985, we would go to the teacher's lounge, never miss a lunch, to listen to her stories. So the storytelling of hers is just infamous. She would entertain us every day, so this is going to be something to follow up on that. We had a lot in common, I'm discovering, as I listened to her. I also showed up in Cyrus expecting, at the time, my second son, Cody, and was welcome. Very much so, and a little bit different there. I could maybe one-upper. Actually, they hired my husband to be my sub when I went on maternity leave. So innovative from the very beginning. I remember, though, it was a long time ago, I did have to have a doctor's note before I could go on maternity leave, I guess to prove that I needed the time. Cody wasn't enough. So we were very lucky, my husband and I, to come here right out of college. And I was listening to the first speaker and thinking, as he talked about, reminiscing about those wonderful instructors and how they could shape a life. And I was thinking, you know, just the opposite. As an instructor, a teacher that came here, how a wonderful town can make such an impression on you and change your life. I could never have asked for a better place to start my career and the wonderful decade that we spent here. We were very lucky to be here at the end when the high school is still here, and my husband coached quite a bit back in those days. And then moving on to the birth of the magnet school, CMST. And when we decided we were going to do this, very lucky, we had two wonderful leaders, both who are here today, Mr. Switzer, Fred Switzer, and Dorothy Jenna. And Dorothy was such a visionary, and Fred was such a supporter. I don't know how we could have done it without those two. And at the time, Nike was just doing the just do it kind of thing, and we got the t-shirts and the posters, and that kind of became our mantra. Also Apple with the Think Different. Those two things were just what we followed, and we thought, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to have a magnet school. We had about maybe 60, 70 kids, I think, left in the elementary at that time. Open enrollment was new. How can we attract students here? So we better promote ourselves. So I can remember the first thing we did, kind of pretty bold when I reflect back on it now. Here we were looking for kids, and what we did, we put a limit on the class sizes. And we had waiting lists. And I mean, really pretty bold to think, okay, we want people, but maybe we'll make ourselves more desirable by doing something like that. And then we started promoting ourselves. Dr. Megabyte was born at that time. And I still teach technology now, and I think of megabyte. At the time, it was the biggest piece of memory we could think of. What was a megabyte? You know, now you have phones that have gigabytes probably on them. And so Dr. Megabyte was born of that, this big dream of what was a megabyte. And we, t-shirts, you know, the logos everywhere. We went in parades to other towns. I also think that was probably a little bit bold, that we were looking for students to come here, going in their parades with our Dr. Megabyte. Probably one of my favorite ones we ever did to promote the school. We were going to have computers on the mall, City Center Mall in Morris. There you go. We unhooked all our computers, brought them over there, and showed off everything we were doing at the time. Such wonderful memories. I also remember we took over the radio spot. Every other town talked about their sports. We were talking about our school, but it was a wonderful way to promote, but very different and innovative at that time. So we would kind of tease. Cutting edge was kind of the term at that time, but we always thought we were more like bleeding edge, because we barely knew what we were doing, but any new technology that came out, we would try it. I remember Dorothy coming back to a staff meeting and telling us, yeah, they're motorizing the Legos, so we should do that. And we're like, how do you motorize a Lego? Well, she signed us up and went all the way down to Minneapolis for a week to learn about that. Mr. Switzer said, you know, off you go, and there we were. And Legos really became a central part of those early years, I think, for us, and really showing off things. Accelerated reader, the AR, it looks like that's still in the library as I toured here today, seeing it. And I remember we started dotting the books. At the time, it's kind of funny. There's now close to 1 million tests that you can get in AR, and you can just do it online. But at that time, there were probably 200 tests, I'm thinking, and they were all on floppy disks. So if you were going to take a test, you had to look it up in the catalog, find the number, come to my classroom and get the floppy disk, take it to the computer, and put it in to take the test. And Cody was reminiscing that, and if there wasn't a test, back then the teachers could write a test and put it on the disk. You know, no need for that anymore.
So I can't tell you how many times I think she read a book after I did, just so she could write the test and make me feel good to take points. And little did I know that, how much work she was probably doing behind the scenes.
Yeah. I think AR had a lot of wonderful memories. Also the summer reading program, where then if you, I don't know, got enough points, you got to come to the sleepover. So we actually had a sleepover, and as we were touring today, the boys were pointing out a lot of rooms that I never knew they explored during that sleepover. There's a room behind that scoreboard or something? I don't know. Yeah.
I'm still going to try to get in there. I don't know if the door's locked. She doesn't have the master key for me.
Yeah, true. Yeah. And I remember thunderstorms came that night, and so we slept in the daycare. Is where we took all the kids into the daycare, and that's where we weathered that storm, watched some movies, that kind of thing. And then we decided, I'm not exaggerating, we saw an article about the internet, an email. Well, do you think we should get that? AR was pretty good, Legos were pretty good. Maybe we should get that internet. Okay. So, if I remember right, you had to call the office and tell them you were going to use that line if you were going to go on the internet. And so then I suppose I would get a busy signal on that line, or that line was out of commission, and we would dial it up in the classroom. Lots of wonderful memories there, building the first network of the computers. I think you have some good memories of the internet with the fantasy leagues, probably.
Yeah, I think, thinking of different ways or creative ways to get kids interested in math, and we competed in a national fantasy sports leagues, which at the time were not very popular, and certainly not with elementary kids. And you didn't even have to be interested in sports. It was a math thing, but it was little did we know that's what we were learning as we were having fun. And we actually won a national championship as one of our classes competed across the internet with these people from all over the country, and to be connected to the world at that time from this little town is, I couldn't understand it as a fourth grader, obviously, but to look back and think about that was 20 years ago is pretty amazing. And one thing that I do remember too is often we would have disputes over rules. It was new, and people had different ideas what the rules should be. So, Mrs. B here would say, "I'm going to call ESPN." for the rules disputes, and little did I know it was my dad on the other end of the phone. But, you know, we took her word for it, and that settled things pretty quickly.
That was the other thing. I remember the first cell phones. We thought, oh, we should get one of those too. So we had some kind of school purchase, and they were like in bags, and we carried them along, you know, and we all had cell phones, and some kind of school purchase we did there. This one's really interesting. You know, everyone has an iPad now, an iPod, those kind of things. Back in the day, Dorothy and Fred, do you remember? We had the Newtons. Julie and Rhonda, remember the Newtons? Even Steve Jobs said that was ahead of its time. And here we had, each one of us, and with a little stylus, and we would go around and grade the students, and then you could connect it to your computer, and again, bleeding edge. It wasn't as easy as it sounds right now, but we had them way, way, way ahead of our time. An iPad's easier, isn't it? Yeah. You know, and when I left in '95 and went on to a school that was almost 10 times bigger student population-wise, I got there, they didn't have internet in their classrooms, they didn't have a networked computer. I remember like dropping to my knees going, what have I done? I want to go back. And my mom, oh, it'll be fine, you can do it here too, you know, kind of thing. But anyways, somewhere along the line there, I guess we became such rock stars, ended up on a magazine or two. I still laugh because the ribbon there, do you know what that's covering up? That's where the article about the sex. Remember? The magazine that's down in the elementary doesn't have the ribbon. You can see the best sex ever. Well, we couldn't have that on the float. Do you remember that? So we were told we had to put a ribbon over that. Yep, that's the rest of that story. So anyways, we became these rock stars, and Dorothy got hired away. So we couldn't replace her. So Mr. Switzer said we could be the principals, us 10 or 12 teachers that were left behind. So we're like, yeah, we can do that. Okay, so we brainstormed a list of all the things we ever saw Dorothy do, who needed a master's and a license, you know. We just brainstormed a list and divided up the jobs. And Mr. Switzer at that time was semi-retired and was going to start going to Arizona. And here's what he told us. He goes, okay, now I trust you guys, and this will work out, but you're going to have to be communicating with me. Don't be using that fax machine. That costs a lot of money. You call me. Well, a long-distance phone call, a fax, I think it was all the same, but that's how new all the technology was to us at that time. So we thought that was pretty cute. We didn't fax him. We would just call him and let him know if we needed something. He was always there for us. So the Just Do It. You know, whatever it took, the community supported it. We needed after-school childcare, so we started the Funshine Club. We needed a daycare. The shop became a daycare. Just enclose that garage door, you can do it, just do it. We needed more space. Our husbands built us lofts. Just do it, kind of thing. We needed more money for all these ideas. Let's bake 1 billion cookies. And we'll store them up in the high school. Wasn't it part of 1 billion, I think? 2? Oh my goodness, I'm thinking back, I think we even did it like, we didn't have school a few days, just so we would have the time to bake 1 billion cookies. 800, well, do the math. Yeah. I was reminiscing with John Hesse, and my boys were reminiscing about Labels Are Us. Did you ever buy the return address labels from any of the students? Every year in 4th grade, they ran that business, and then they would sell it to the 3rd graders coming in, and they'd sell it for $1 a student. You could buy into that business, and what would you walk away with?
$40.
$40 on a $1 investment. Yeah. We wanted to go skiing. Okay, first of all, not many elementary schools got to go skiing. We went skiing, but not just 6th grade, 1st through 6th grade. You know, just do it. And we'd go several times a year. We brought the theater groups in. You know, we were reminiscing that these were the locker rooms, but to these boys, they were saying, no, that's where you went and got your makeup on when that Prairie Players came. Yeah, do you remember that? Yeah, and that's where you went and got your makeup on down there for that. And so, as I look back, how lucky to spend 10 years with all of those wonderful, wonderful things you could never duplicate, I don't think, ever. But what made this CMST so special, and to think, 24 years? About? Yeah? 24? Oh, amazing. To think that just do it. Just do it and you can. So thank you very much for giving me that opportunity. And Brady has a few things.
I just like that. Coming back here, a flood of emotion, seeing all the old places I remember as a child, a lot of fun. But to add to the school specifically, I just want to emphasize how much they were ahead of their time. How they took the technology and they ran with it. I'm sorry. And it prepared the students that went through that program for the lifetime that we've got now. The technology that we use now really put us ahead. And that was quite some time ago, so that's pretty amazing. And to do with those memories that were flooding with me, I actually remember that I did set a fire to a ball of string over on the side of this school here. He was involved too. Diane Methuen, I saw her around somewhere. She caught us. And my friend Chris Charles and I, we ran around. We never got in trouble for it. He took the blame. So, what I'm getting to, Raleigh, if you need an extra pyrotechnician tonight, I'm available, but I wouldn't ask Cody, though. He's still a little scarred. Thank you.